Hey everyone, welcome to Homestead Corner. I'm Jenny and today I have got 15 must-have first aid items for your prep supplies. Our first aid items can be life-saving items, and they are so important when you are prepping and making sure you have all the supplies that you need. I think there are tons of things that you can put in there, but there are definitely things that you want to make sure that you have enough of, because they can absolutely be life-saving, and we should have a really good, decent supply of first aid items. If we can't get to the doctors, we need to be able to take care of everything on our own. And so a lot of these things, you can buy all of these things, and a lot of them you can make them yourselves. If you like to make salves and ointments and things like that, you can definitely do that as well. So let's jump into this list of 15 things that you must have in your first aid supplies. So the first thing on my list is antibiotics. I think they are so important. It is so easy to get an infection, especially when you are having to do all kinds of work. You get things dirty, things like that. You want to make sure you've got plenty of antibiotics. Now you can buy these, you can buy cases of these for Preparedness. They sell them all over the internet. You can make your own antibiotics, definitely, with different herbs and oils and things like that. Being able to do it with herbs and stuff really is more self-sufficient than just stocking up on stuff that can go bad, and also they can, they're not always that great for you. So either way that you do it is wonderful, because you're really going to need those items in a long-term situation or a major disaster when you just can't get to the doctor. Number 2 on my list is an antihistamine, like a Benadryl type thing, to help calm down any kind of allergies, problems like that. Those are wonderful to have on hand. You can get them at the Dollar Tree for $1.25. You can go with a bunch of different brands, but antihistamine is definitely right at the top of my list. Number 3 on my list is a thermometer. An old school thermometer is the best, honestly, because it doesn't require batteries and it's not going to go dead. But battery operated ones are a lot cheaper and easier to find. So I know a lot of people have those, but if you can get your hands on one of those old mercury thermometers, I definitely recommend one of those. And number 4, an over-the-counter pain reliever, like Advil, Tylenol, all of those type of things. So you can help keep fevers down, help reduce pain, anything like that. Advil is going to also help with inflammation, which is wonderful to reduce swelling. But having what kind works for you in your emergency supplies is so important. And number 5 on my list is some sort of chest balm with, eucalyptus and peppermint or whatever you use. You can get the chest rubs all over the place. Those are wonderful. You can put them on the bottom of your feet to help. You could do all sorts of stuff with them, but they really help open up those clogged sinuses and open up your breathing when you are sick or having some sort of trouble with that. Number 6 on my list is a tourniquet. Tourniquets are wonderful to help slow that bleeding down. If you get a big gash or someone in your group gets a big gash, you want to make sure that you can help them and stop them from bleeding to death. So getting a tourniquet on there right away to slow that bleeding down and getting that cleaned out and patched up is definitely wonderful. There are other things that you can use, but a tourniquet makes it quick and easy, and they're quite affordable most of the time. I'll link one that we have down below. They are really easy to use, and they're really great to have in your first aid supplies. Number 7 on my list is an ace bandage. Ace bandages can be so handy, whether you're using the ones with the little metal clips or the stuff that sticks together. Both of them are super handy. You can use them to help stabilize wounds and any sprains or anything like that. You can cover with your bandages, cover your wounds, and then cover it with an ace bandage to help keep it clean and stuff like that. Sometimes you need to stabilize a shoulder or whatever, or an elbow, but they are super handy to have on hand, and I think everyone should have multiples of the ACE bandages in their first aid supply. The next thing on my list is Band-Aids. Lots and lots of Band-Aids, all different sizes. I think they are wonderful to have in there. You can get all kinds of different bandages out there, but lots of Band-Aids. The flexible fabric ones I find for myself stick a lot better than the plastic, although you can usually get boxes of the plastic you can get a lot more in there for the same price. But definitely figure out which one is the best one for you and stock those, because those are the ones that you want. Just because something works great for me doesn't mean it's going to work great for you. Unfortunately, we're not a one-size-fits-all people. The next thing on my list is gauze tape, gauze wrap, rolls of it, all kinds of gauze. Different sizes I think are wonderful. Making sure you've got the tape that goes with it, and keeping a pair of scissors in there too can be really helpful in your first aid box. But all that gauze for bigger gashes and wounds and things like that are really important. I know a lot of people stock sanitary napkins to also help with larger gashes, and that is wonderful as well. And having that tape can help adhere it to it so it will be there to absorb any kind of blood coming out. So, but lots of gauze, rolls, tape. It's not usually something that you use all the time at home for most people, but in an emergency situation, you could definitely use this, and it will be super handy to have, so you don't have to use random things like t-shirts and stuff like that that may not be all that sanitary. And the next thing on my list is an antibacterial ointment. Those are so handy. You can make it yourself. It's really super easy to do. But antibacterial ointment is wonderful, or the antibiotic ointment. Any of those are going to be really good, but you want something to help those wounds heal speedy and make sure that you can keep them clean and covered up. And sometimes just that little extra is very helpful to get that wound really healing up great. And the next thing on my list is blood stop. Blood stop is super important, especially for those big gashes or anything like that. We have used it on our animals, and in a pinch, you could definitely use like flour from your kitchen on a wound to help stop that blood and clot it up. You want to be careful with the flour because it could have bacteria in it that might cause problems later on. So I definitely think blood stop is worth investing in. It's about $8. You can get it at Walmart, on Amazon, all kinds of places you can find it. A lot of hiking and camping stores carry it. I'll put a link to that in the description as well if it's something that you're looking for that you don't have. I think they're really important. Again, flour can be used in a pinch, but sometimes it does have a little bit of bacteria in there, which, you know, when we're cooking our flour, that really doesn't matter. But if we're putting it directly on a wound, it could cause a problem. The next thing on my list that's a must-have, and an absolute must-have, I think, is rubber gloves of some sort. Whatever kind of rubber gloves you like, but it's going to help stop the spread of bacteria. You don't want to be having bacteria on your hands, cleaning up someone's wound and getting bacteria in there. You don't want to get that bacteria in possibly a cut that you might have either. So making sure that you've got gloves is super important in your first aid supply. The next thing on my list is tweezers. Tweezers are so handy, especially if you get a splinter to help get those out or anything like that. Some kind of drawing salve would also be really nice in there. If you don't have any drawing salve, I think that is a great addition to go with the tweezers as well, because that's going to help pull anything out of the skin, which is great. But those tweezers are so important. Pulling ticks, pulling splinters, all sorts of stuff. You may even need them if you're trying to suture someone and you have to grab the tip of the needle. A pair of tweezers can definitely be handy. You want some good solid ones. Some of the ones out there are a little flimsy and not so good. And the next thing on my list is peroxide and rubbing alcohol. Both of those are absolutely wonderful to have to help clean out wounds. After you irrigate it with water to get any dirt and debris out of there. Sometimes it gets real nasty when you get a cut. you want to irrigate it and then go in with your peroxide, or you may have to wipe down an area with rubbing alcohol. Both are super important in your first aid supplies. And last on my list is some kind of antiseptic, antibacterial type wipe. Those are also wonderful for helping to clean wounds. If you've got the little iodine wipes, those are wonderful, or whatever kind of antiseptic wipes that you can get in there, because you want to make sure that you're able to get those wounds super clean before you bandage it up. And that way you don't cause any more chance of getting an infection or extra bacteria in there. We want to get that cleaned out as good as possible. And that is it for my 15 must-have first aid items. We have got to make sure our first aid items are right at the top of our list. That's something that we can't always just find, and we want to make sure we have plenty of it in case of an emergency, whether it's a natural disaster, a man-made disaster, or an all-out long-term collapse. We want to be prepared no matter what it is. So making sure we've got those first aid supplies. When we cannot get to the doctors, we're going to have to take care of everything on our own, and being ready is the best thing we can do for our families. And that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!